So Mark is the managing director of SMB Records Management, and it's nothing to do with boy bands, more to do with secure storage and confidential destruction. He works in the industry for 22 years at a large corporation before being forced to resign in 2018 due to ill health. With the support of his family and friends, he decided to start his own business in January 2019, in which time they've gone from 300 boxes to nearly 10,000, and he'll have to wait to see what that means, and have quite a few shredding rounds too. He enjoys meeting people, and his outlook on life has changed considerably over the last few years, where he's perfected his listening skills and been a shoulder to cry on when needed. He also tries to support other small businesses if he can, which I can testify to. Thank you very much, Mark. He can be a little silly at times, but really, like the girls, he just wants to have fun. The topic for today is cornflakes. Shredding. Over to you, Mark.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. Right, so I have to I've never done this before, so do I just press share screen? Well, what's going on here? Cool. So basically, as we said, we're going to talk about more of the shredding services today. So SMB Records Management, who are we and what services do we offer? So as Tim said, it's nothing to do with LPs. We don't do anything with music, as we do get asked that question quite a lot. What sort of records do we deal with, and how many vinyls have you got in store? But we don't have very many vinyls. We do have a couple, but not very many. So basically, SMB manages the life cycle of your data, from the birth of a file through to the storage, through to essentially the death when it's not needed, and we can shred that for you. So what I really want to say, as I said, it's the responsibility of the business to follow their duty of care regulations. So as you can see, the Environmental Protection Act in 1990, you're supposed to comply with that to evidence that you're making reasonable steps towards recycling, not just your paper, but anything, so your plastics and anything you creating from the office or your home, because everyone's now working from home. So what are the advantages of outsourcing our paper destruction? So clearing your unnecessary paperwork, it gives you back the space in your office so you can clear your shelves, makes your files easier to find if you're looking through all your files. Obviously, the build-up of paperwork can create fire hazards. I've been to sites where they've put boxes in front of fire exits. You can't get out if there was a hazard or anything like that. So like a fire, so it blocks the way, which is a bit illegal, really, because if the fire chief came in and did an audit on your place, he would certainly pull you up on that. Ooh. So do you really need to hold on to all the paperwork you have in your filing cabinet? You probably don't. There's probably stuff in there that you shouldn't be holding because it's past the date. It might be about someone that you've no need to deal with. And if you were audited and this sort of information was found on your property, then there's probably you could end up with a large fine. So be warned. As I said earlier, too much paperwork hinders searches. It costs you time and resources. I know there's some companies that store in self-storage units, but they don't actually catalogue what's in there. So when they go down, they basically look through every box time and time again, trying to find different files. And also, so there's a cost to that on the resources for doing that sort of searching. So try and make sure that you're listing what you have in store. And of course, you can save yourself time and money by outsourcing to a registered company like us. So we can index your files for you. Everything's barcoded, either at a box level or a file level, and that will be a quick find when you need a file back as well. And we also provide you a certificate of destruction, and you need to hang on to this to show that you are, going back to the beginning, to show that you are following the regulations, just in case you're audited by anyone, and you're doing your utmost to follow the regulations. But also down here, just make sure that the people you are using are a registered waste agent. There's quite a few people out there that will take your paper and it does end up in fields or somewhere where you don't want it to, and you don't want that information to be shown because it could again lead to a fine. So there's a couple of reasons why not to shred your own paper, because I know a lot of people do that. So when you've shredded your paper, the paper strips are too small to be separated when it's going through the council line. And the little bits of paper blow around the yard and they block up the machinery and they become a fire hazard to the council. So this is why the councils don't really like people putting shredded paper into their bins. So the time it takes also to destroy paper can quite consume your time in doing so. I speak to a lot of people that either try and shred it themselves and they spend hours and hours and they get through quite a few shredding machines that burn out in the end, or they try and burn it themselves, and that paper is, funny enough, quite hard to actually burn. So when you take it out and you throw it into a bin to catch it alight, it won't really burn all that well. So, and you end up smelling of smoke, as you know, it's not very pleasant smell to walk back into the house with. And also, as I said, if you're burning out your machines, the cost to replace the shredding device can be expensive, and to maintain those machines as well, to keep them going. But if you are shredding, there are some things you can do with your shredded paper. So you can put it into boxes and use it as packing material if you're moving house or you want to store something away. It's a bit fragile. You can actually use it as animal bedding, but make sure that the print in the paper is not toxic to the animals, because the little hamsters and the mice that chew up that sort of paperwork can have a detrimental effect on those guys. So, you know, be careful. You can put it into your bin, your compost bin as well. So you put it in with all your bits and pieces, your green stuff from your garden and your food and things, and it can rot down. Or you can arrange for a company to collect your shredding to prevent the paper from going into landfill sites. So that's what we're trying to stop, is to slow down the landfill and get all the paper recycled. So a few facts about trees, because it's trees that I'm really trying to save here. It's and I'm sure you've seen on the news just recently about the rainforests and how much devastation is happening over there, because the farmers are trying to grow soya beans that Cadbury's and people like that put into their chocolate. But it's actually causing devastation, a lot of deforestation in the forests. So there's like the ones I've listed there in Brazil forest and the boreal forest, the Russians, and the actual trees are being cleared at such a rate. I think they did mention on the news that over the last year, it's like an area of Wales, if you want a comparison, that's been cleared. So it's not helping the environment. So even in the UK, we're just down to 13% of tree coverage now. We were obviously originally years ago, we had 100% coverage, and then the farmers started, the industrial cycle started, and slowly people have cleared the trees down to just 13% of coverage in the UK. As it says, it's been in decline for thousands of years, and especially over the recent times as the industries have picked up. I've just said all that, so I don't need to repeat myself. So the UK now imports over 75,000 acres of trees just to keep up with the demand for the wood in the UK. And unfortunately, quite a lot of that wood is illegally imported. And it's really hard to track sort of the legal logging industry as it comes into the UK. So a lot of it still goes on, and a lot of it still goes into the UK. So what's the importance of trees? Obviously, they give us the oxygen we breathe, and they store a considerable amount of carbon. And when the tree is chopped down, all that carbon is released again. So it's best not to chop them down. But they're one of the biggest allies in fighting against the global warming. As you can see, each tree does store about 250 kg of carbon over a period of about 100 years. So if you're looking at all the big trees that people are chopping down at the moment, all this carbon is being released back into the environment and giving it this global warming effect. So the average carbon footprint of someone in the UK is 12 tons, believe it or not. That's quite a lot. And that's 48 trees planted every year for one person to become carbon neutral. I thought that was quite a good little fact. So we don't want this escalating, because if we run out of trees, there's not really a lot of future for the rest of us. So what do we save by recycling? So each ton of paper, we can save 17 trees. And that's 38 gallons of oil also we can save. We can save 33 cubic yards of landfill space by stopping it going into the landfill, 4,000 kilowatts of energy and 7,000 gallons of water. So what have we been doing in SMB? So as I said, I started a couple of years ago. So we are a growing family business, and we try to not just do paper, but we're trying to obviously stop, we're trying to catch cardboard. We're trying to do the CDs and DVDs. We just did a ton of DVDs. We also do IT equipment, and it stops it all going into the landfill, because quite a lot of those CDs and DVDs and the computers are very toxic and have a really detrimental effect to the soil you're putting it in. And if you burn them, if you don't go to the correct facility and they're burnt, then the smoke that comes off of those is very toxic. It's not very good for us, the people that breathe that in as well. So this year, with our secure destruction, just paper, in 2019, we did 35 tonne of paper. So that saved 600 trees, which I was quite pleased about. And I sent that off to another company for an award, and they said, yes, well done. You got I don't know if anyone saw it in the post, they remember, we got a 3-star award from a recycling company. And in 2021, we've shredded 48 tonnes of paper so far, and that's 816 trees. But with that also, we've done 48 tonnes of metalwork that we've recycled. I said we've done a ton of CDs. We've done 1.5 tons of clothes that we stopped going into landfill. And we gave all those clothes to our hospice, the local hospice to us. We're very grateful, and it managed to open up an extra shop, and they did the biggest sale that they'd ever done before previously. So they managed to sell over 2,000 items that we'd given them, and they were very, very pleased about that. So for your secure destruction, if you want to use a company that cares, as we do, about the security and the environment, give us a call. You know, if you just want advice, give us a call. If you want to try it a different way, but we're trying to stop the impact on the deforestation that's happening at the moment. And I know we're only a small company and we are growing, but every little bit makes a big bit eventually. And we can sort of help this environment that's going on at the moment, all this global warming. So I'm not sure where I am on the time. I'll probably race through that.
No, you're spot on.
Okay, so thank you for your time. And if anyone has any questions, please shout out.
All right. Fantastic, Mark. Thank you for that. Can you just firstly stop sharing the screen so we can see you?
Yeah, I can.
And thank you very much. That was really interesting. I think it's a really good reminder of, you know, the effects of it all. So first of all, can we all unmute ourselves and give Mark a huge round of applause for that? Brilliant. Very educational, and I think it's really important. And I actually had a thought in my head about something about schools, so I will talk to you about that later.
Thank you.
Right, in terms of questions, does anybody have any questions? Oh, they're going into, so you can unmute yourself, but there's one here. Who are your ideal referrals? That's from Darren.
Well, solicitors are a good one. They use a lot of paper and they like a lot of storage. But as you're talking about schools at ZNet, we've just taken on 2 new academies local to us, and they each contain about 5 or 6 schools each. And we went there. They said they ended up clearing out some of their paperwork. And they said we've got 40 bags for collection. When I got there, it was actually 140 bags of paper. So yeah, my day was extended slightly trying to pick up these 140 bags. But they do generate quite a lot of paper as well, the schools.
Mm-hmm. Great. Oh, I think Darren's going to do a referral. Judge and Priestley are in his BNI group, if that's of any interest to you.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Great. Any other questions that anybody has? Please unmute yourself. You don't have to put it in the chat. Okay, I've seen Lillian, has got one. If I need to clear out my filing, is there a minimum order?
There is a sort of minimum. I mean, you can do one bag if you wish. We can post out bags to you, but we have a minimum charge of £35, sort of round in your area, Lillian, and that's up to 5 sacks of shredding. So if anyone wants to, and you can book that on our website, there's a little shop on there if anyone wants to book any shredding through there, just to make it a bit easier. It's done on a secure PayPal. But as I said, if you just got the one bag and you're local, I don't think any of you are really that local, but if you're local, you can always drop a bag into us, and that's just a £5 for the bag.
I might add another £5 on that. I can drop it off on my way to the studio because I pass them. Any other questions? Got some lovely comments in the chat, and I think it's very environmental, so really important to be thinking about things like that.
Craig wants to ask a question.
Craig, okay? Because I can't see.
That's all right. It's an observation more than a question. But one of the things that Mark will help you with is if you have old computer equipment that contains client customer data, you are legally required to ensure that you dispose of that in a secure and compliant way. It's not something that you would generally do yourself, and I would very strongly recommend that if you're looking to dispose of customer data, client data, that needs to be done properly, and you need to take care with how you do it. So from that perspective, I do very much recommend that you look at somebody like Mark for their services, because it protects you, it helps Mark, and it would also do a good job for the environment as well.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
You obviously get a destruction certificate if you want anything destroyed, so you can show that who's done it. I would take, we take full responsibility. We've given you a certificate. We've said it's destroyed. Nothing will happen, but if it ever did, it comes back on me, not you. So,
good point. Really, really important there. Fantastic. Any other questions before we carry on with the sizzles? No? Fantastic. Well, if you do give Mark a buzz, and as he said, he'll be more than happy to talk things over with you. Right, finally, well done again, Mark. Thank you very much.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.